I am Johnny Massacre, and welcome to my world. Tonight, Deadpool and Wolverine World's First Review. Who is with me? Give me a hell yeah! So I've seen this film basically before anyone else because I live in Japan and it came out 2 days early. So here is my review. I'm going to spoil everything for you because I know you just cannot wait. So the film starts off with Deadpool in the wilderness and he's digging up, he's exhuming Wolverine's carcass. Why is he doing this? Don't know, bruv. Anyways, there's loads of these soldiers who are trying to stop Deadpool and Deadpool kills them all. There are no stakes at all because Deadpool can't be killed and he's just killing people with ease. So I don't feel any sense of danger at all. I thought that might be kind of ruining the film, but as it goes on, you learn to love it. You will learn to love this film. Don't believe the reviews you're seeing online. You can't trust the mainstream media. I've got you covered, bruv. So Deadpool explains why he's exhuming Wolverine's carcass. And then we go back in time to Deadpool at a job interview. And he says, I want to join the Avengers. And too long didn't read. They will not accept him. Deadpool, even though he's a bit of a joker, bruv, and he's the merc with the mouth, he actually wants something a bit more serious and meaningful in his life. The plot says that Deadpool wants to matter. He wants to make a difference. He gets rejected by the Avengers. So that is the inciting incident, if you will. That is his character motivation. So I like that part of the plot. Very simple. A guy who's a joker who doesn't take things very serious, actually deep down inside, he takes things very seriously and he just wants to make a difference. So that's kind of a simple part of the story and I quite like that. So then fast forward and Deadpool's at a dinner with his mates and his love interest now in this timeline isn't with him anymore. She's dating someone else. And too long didn't read. Some people come to abduct Deadpool and he's abducted by the Time Variance Authority. So as you know, if you read the X-Men comics or Marvel comics, there's various timelines and universes. And I didn't know about this, but there's a guy called Mr. Paradox. And he's played by the most overtly British person ever. He really hams up his Britishness. And as a British person, it's just so over the top. But he's kind of amusing. And Mr. Paradox's job is to organize the multiverse and all the timelines and stuff like that. Timelines and multiverses don't seem to work that well in movies. But with the comics, it's easier to suspend your disbelief. Anyways, whoever wrote this film took it upon themselves to then make the story much more convoluted and try to explain the various timelines again. We've seen this before in other films. I guess they have to do it because they need some continuity, but the plot of this movie is that because Logan died, he's some really important character to the timeline, and if that character dies, your timeline will die. And there's a bar, it's like a life bar in Street Fighter, mate. It's slowly reducing, and when that goes to zero, your timeline is dead. Mr. Paradox says it takes 1,000 years for this to happen, but he's speeding up the process because he's essentially a bad guy. And Mr. Paradox finally offers Deadpool a chance to matter. He says, you know what? I've got a wicked timeline, bruv. It's called the Sacred Timeline, and I want you to join it. And you can finally make your life matter. The caveat is your timeline will be destroyed. So that girl that you like and you love and your friends, they're all going to be destroyed. So Deadpool, of course, doesn't agree with this. And he nicks some device from Mr. Paradox and he goes to all the different timelines to try to find another Wolverine to replace the dead Wolverine with so his timeline can survive. That is the fucking plot. It's completely insane. So this bit is kind of cool. There's now a montage of Deadpool going to find all the different Wolverines, and you have all these different Wolverines from the comic history and comic lore, and you have a Henry Cavill Wolverine, which is kind of funny. And you've got a really small midget Wolverine. And then there's one Wolverine, I don't know exactly who he is, but he's really feral. He might be from the Weapon X comics and stuff. So that montage was quite nice. Anyways, he finds the worst possible Wolverine. A Wolverine who's failed in his timeline. And he got all the X-Men killed. And it's all his fault. And he's a bit of a loser. His claws won't come out. It's the adamantium form of impotence for a Wolverine. So he picks that Wolverine. Now, there's a lot of chance here for character development for Hugh Jackman, who plays Wolverine. And I've got to say, people are gonna say this is ridiculous. I don't care. He should get a fucking Oscar for this film. He was that good in this fucking film. Hugh Jackman, he did the whole thing. He went from an absolute loser at the start of the film, beaten down, broken, no confidence, slowly getting a bit of confidence back, to at the end, we'll get there. But his performance was just, I can't believe I'm saying this about a fucking Deadpool movie and a Marvel movie and a Disney movie, but Give this guy a fucking medal, because Hugh Jackman absolutely smashes it. Deadpool picks that loser Wolverine, brings him back to Mr. Paradox, and Mr. Paradox, he realizes he doesn't actually need Deadpool for his sacred timeline, and he zaps him with a magic stick, bruv, and he sends him to this place called the Void, which is essentially a place where superheroes go to die, and they are completely forgotten about. Now, in the Void, Wolverine and Deadpool fight, and Deadpool is famous for breaking the fourth wall in the comics, and they break the fourth wall with careless abandon in this film. And Deadpool essentially says to the camera, look, you're about to see a fight scene between Deadpool and Wolverine. Nerds, get ready for this. This is going to be awesome. So they have a fight, and it is cool, and it's so fucking violent, this film. Even in the first 3 minutes of the film, Wolverine is stabbing men in their clacker. he gets Wolverine's claws from the grave, and he's stabbing people in the clacker, and it's so incredibly violent, and it's so cool, and it just makes you think, do you know what? If only they would do a fucking X-Men film where, as funny as Deadpool is, it's actually kind of serious in tone, and it's this fucking violent. Mate, if there's one avenue that will get Disney back on track, that is it. It's like, let's reboot X-Men and let's make it as violent as this. Wolverine and Deadpool have a fight. It's kind of cool. But up until this point, there have been no stakes at all. They're both invincible. They can't die. I don't feel nervous in the fight scene that anyone can really seriously get hurt. And also, because the fourth wall is being broken so much, it feels like the writers know that they're just rehashing things again and again, and they're just admitting to you, we're putting this in just because it's probably what's going to make people see the movie, but this doesn't make a good film. So I'm kind of sitting there, and it's kind of interesting, but I'm not really sold on it. I'm not really sold on it yet. But this is where the film starts to get good. So they find Chris Evans, I think that's his name, the guy who played Captain America. So they got a cameo, and he's actually not Captain America in this film. He's the Human Torch. So they go to find the antagonist of the Void, and it's this bald woman called Cassandra Nova, and she's Professor Xavier's twin. And I didn't know about this character. It's obviously in the comics, and she has some nice backstory. She says, in the womb I tried to strangle Xavier with the umbilical cord. I thought, you're a real bitch. Like, that's a quite cool antagonist villain, so I don't like her, and I don't know who plays her, but she's really good. She's really, really good in this film. So she's diminutive and bald and wears a trench coat with the collar turned up at the back, and she's like really terrifying. You're really terrifying, and it's really well acted. She is also overtly British, but not in a kind of cringeworthy way like Mr. Paradox. And she's hard as nails. She's basically unstoppable. With a click of a finger, she can throw you across the room, do all kinds of things. And whereas Xavier can read your mind just with his thoughts, she has to put her fingers through your brain in order to read your thoughts. So that's kind of really unsettling when she puts her hand into the protagonist's brains, and she puts her hand through the back of the head, and the fingers are coming out through the eyes and nostrils. It's really gross, and she's very intimidating. There's a juggernaut in this. They break the fourth wall again and say, oh, you're like this movie's like a casting of Juggernaut, aren't you? So there's so much fourth wall breaking in this film. It's actually ridiculous. And so Cassandra Nova establishes herself as the antagonist of the film very well, and she's scary, and you don't want to mess with her. Anyways, they all escape, and as they're escaping, Wolverine and Deadpool they find another version of Deadpool, and it's like a nice version of Deadpool, and he's got his mask off and he's not scarred and stuff. And there's also Dogpool, that dog from the comics. I didn't read the comics much, but I know that dog's always in the comics. And so there's a lot of comedy bits here with like very nice, kind Deadpool and kind of cunty Deadpool. And they end up driving away in a Honda Civic, this beat up old car. And in the car, Deadpool lets slip that he actually can't really help Wolverine. You see, the reason Wolverine agreed to help Deadpool restore his timeline or save his timeline from destruction and essentially save the girl he likes and his friends is because Deadpool says Mr. Paradox, the master of the multiverses and whatnot, can fix your timeline where you're not a loser and you didn't kill the X-Men. But in this Honda Civic, Deadpool let slip that he couldn't do it. I can't remember the exact term, but it's a ridiculous term that Deadpool uses to and it let slip that he was essentially lying. Deadpool and Wolverine have another fight. This is quite a badass fight, and this is where Hugh Jackman starts to shine. And Hugh Jackman has had enough. He's the typical kind of loner Wolverine up until this point, doesn't really say that much, is not a man of many words, and is just a man of action and brute force. But he's finally had enough with Deadpool, and he just takes Deadpool apart, and it just rips him apart and says why he's such an annoying prick. And Deadpool doesn't have anything to say. Hugh Jackman's killing it at this point. He's fucking killing it, bruv. And Deadpool then starts to fight Wolverine. They have a massive fight, and they end up just like destroying each other. This is quite fun. And so the chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine is actually really fucking good at this point. So the film's starting to come alive. The chemistry between the two leads is really, really working. And when they're fucked in the car, some mystery character drives them off. And so there's a resistance against the antagonist, the tyrant of the Void. There's a resistance to Cassandra Nova, and it's comprised of a woman called Elektra and Wesley Snipes' Blade. Like, he's in this film. Obviously Disney now own that, so he's in this film, and Gambit. So finally there's a film with Gambit in. How many fucking years have I know there was a brief cameo of a Gambit, or there was a Gambit film, but it was kind of shitty and everyone's forgotten about it. Mate, I've been waiting how many fucking years? I've been waiting about 25 years for a film with a proper Gambit character. So I did not know this going into film. So yes, it's some cheap nostalgia. Yes, it's nothing to do with the story or narrative or anything that hard work demands. It's just a bit of fan service. They put Gambit in the film, but fuck, I wasn't expecting it, and I'm happy they put him in. He's also played by what's his name? Channing Tatum. Is that his name? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but he's played by Channing Tatum, I believe. And he wanted to play Gambit from way back in the day. I remember like 20 years ago reading an interview with him saying, Gambit is my hero. I really want to play him. The funny shit is, this motherfucker's French accent is terrible. It's terrible. Like, oh God. It's the worst case I've ever witnessed of an American actor trying to do like a European accent, in this case a French accent. It is abominable. I think they kind of realized in the script, because at one point one of the characters says if you can even understand what he's saying, and part of me wonders if because he couldn't really do a French accent, they actually made him ham it up and purposefully be terrible. Anyways, he doesn't ruin it completely. You can see that Channing Tatum has a love for the character. And the thing is, like, Gambit was always a bit skinnier in the comics, and Channing Tatum is ripped. So that was a bit jarring. And the other thing is, you can see why they didn't use the Wolverine costume in the other films, because it's kind of hard to make a big yellow costume with ears look good. And the same goes for Gambit. When Gambit has like the purple armor, and the kind of thing over his head and face, that lycra thing, it looks a little bit weird, but do you know what, bruv? I'll fucking take it. It was so cool to see Gambit in a film. And this is where the film should have started. See, I remember back in the day, I was pretty good at creative writing, and we all used to read our stories in front of the classroom in school. And I remember we had to write a story about some danger or some perilous thing. And I prefaced the whole story with, the story was like falling off a cliff or something, or hanging on and then falling off. I prefaced all of that by speaking about how I was with my family and we got in the car, my dad drove here and I drank this and ate this, and the teacher was like ripping it out of me, so kind of taking the piss because there was so much stuff in the story. And then though, the teacher, this is how he was a good teacher, man. Mr. O'Malley was his name, and he taught me how to write and cut out the fat. And he said, look, up until this point you didn't need to write any of this. And so I felt a bit ashamed because the class was kind of laughing. But he said, at this point, when the danger happens and I described falling off this cliff, he said, now this is great. He said, you should have started the story there. I wish Mr. O'Malley was the producer for this film, because the same strategy could be applied to this film. Like, all the stuff that came before it was kind of okay, but this part of the film, where there's not too much fourth wall breaking and there's actually some stakes, because Cassandra Nova can actually fuck you up and kill you, this actually felt kind of good. And even though all these other heroes, the Resistance, agree to help Deadpool and Wolverine for reasons that don't really make sense, there's actually quite a good camaraderie between the actors and actresses. And I know what you're wondering, like, is this film woke? And they made a few references to that. They talked about being cancelled and like getting the woke mob after you. They mentioned feminism as well. That'll make the feminists angry and the ableists angry. I didn't feel that it was written by people that hate me, you know, and that's usually what I feel when I'm watching a Disney film. It's like, this is written by people. If they knew my political opinion, they would fucking hate me. They would absolutely hate me. I didn't feel that about this film. I felt like the female characters, they weren't like snarky bitches who just like make men look like absolute twats and the men are complete bumbling fools. I felt like all the female characters were played pretty well. I thought the antagonist was good. Like all the Marvel films I've seen in the last 10 years, a lot of the female characters have been trash, and the Star Wars films, absolute trash. Are they bad? In this film, they're kind of good. So you got a bunch of female characters in the Resistance. You got Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're banding together to stop Cassandra Nova. And I thought, like, this is kind of cool. All of the casting in this was really good. I saw some reviews on Metacritic, and they're kind of talking trash in the film, but man, Marvel films, let's be real. These films are not well acted. They're cheesy. They have all these, you know, like terrible jokes and milquetoast jokes, and it's kind of like no offense, Marvel Avengers fans, but it's kind of like basic bitch entertainment. Just being real. These are not fucking like Goodfellas caliber films or like Aliens or like Back to the Future, right? I would say so. And so the acting is usually terrible. The acting is kind of good in this. All the characters are kind of good. X-23, I don't know who plays her. She's really good. And oh my God, like, not a belittling female character who's just doing all this shit and destroying the men. It all kind of works. So the film, like, it starts off like so much fourth wall breaking and no stakes at all. And everyone's invincible. And okay, I like the part where Deadpool fails the Marvel interview for the Avengers. Simple. Like, I want to matter. Okay, you want to matter. You want to join the Avengers. Like, that should have been it for me. Then you explain the multiverse. Okay. Even though you know it's ridiculous writers, you do it anyways. Okay. You haven't quite lost me yet, but it's not the best. You can't just throw Wolverine in and Deadpool in and make them have a fight and I'm going to be happy just because it's there, just because it's fan service. The reason we like to see these people fight is because we love the characters. So you at least have to build up the characters and make them relatable and get us invested in it and have some stakes. And it wasn't really happening in the beginning. But from this point, it starts to get good. So the film starts like that, and then by the middle, and then mate, all the way to the end, it was fucking, I can't believe a Disney film was actually kind of good. I feel dirty saying that. I don't want anyone to support Disney because they've just destroyed all of my favorite brands, but it starts getting good here. So this team go to take on Cassandra Nova, and you get to see Gambit in action, bruv. I'm such a nerd. I love it. Bro, like he pulls his cards apart like this. He's like blowing people up with his cards, but it's bloody. He's exploding people. He's got his staff. He's charging the staff. I'm such a nerd. I love it. He fucking like cuts someone's foot off with his bow, his weapon, his staff. Blade, Wesley Snipes is in it. Mate, you see Wesley Snipes with a rocket launcher blow open the gates to Cassandra Nova's stronghold. At this point, I feel there's stakes. I feel they could get killed, and maybe Logan will die because he died in the previous one, and Hugh Jackman's getting on a bit. So like, I feel okay, they could actually get killed now. There's some stakes. I feel invested in it, and so Wolverine and Deadpool confront Cassandra Nova while the Resistance is out the back, bruv, dealing with the man-them, and they get Juggernaut's helmet and they put it onto her head because that's the only way they can stop her psychic attack, which is her main power. And then you see the character development of Wolverine. So up until this point, Wolverine's he's got no confidence at all. It's so weird seeing someone so hardcore and savage with no confidence. And he just feels like a complete fucking loser. And he hasn't really explained much about his character. He hasn't really explained that much. There was a scene before this which is so good as well. So like Wolverine's out by the campfire, he's drinking, he's such an alcoholic in this film. He's getting pissed on the whiskey, mate. Fucking whiskey, man. He's got the whiskey bottle, like drinking the fucking whiskey, mate. And X-23 comes out and she sits down beside him. And this is really emotional because in Logan, Wolverine sacrificed himself for her. And she's saying, look, you're not the same one, you're from a different timeline, but essentially like you're a top guy, you saved my life. And so what you could see like little flickers of Wolverine's purpose coming from the embers, like coming alight again. And at the end, he just says, look, I'm the wrong guy. And he says, I'm not the guy to help you. I'm the wrong guy. And she says, you were always the wrong guy. And this is so truthful. Sometimes we beat ourselves down so much. I'm this, I'm that. It's like, yeah, you are that. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to let it beat you down, or you're going to work with it? You're going to make the best of it. And that was so nice there. And Hugh Jackman's acting is so good. And then at this part, you can see Wolverine's redemption arc coming into play. So Wolverine, he could kill her. They could kill Cassandra Nova. But she says to them, look, if you kill me, you can't get back to your timeline anyway, so it's a waste of time. And she's a horrible supervillain, so they could just kill her there and then. And Wolverine says, no, do you know what? Professor Xavier, he wouldn't have wanted this. He wouldn't have wanted this. So Wolverine, he's a man of morals. Like, he can feel the difference between right and wrong. And before, he was a nihilist. He didn't give a fuck. He's just hitting the bottle, abusing himself. And he went on a killing spree. He admitted to X-23. But now he can see the difference between right and wrong again. And he just takes the helmet off, even though it could kill them. So Cassandra Nova, I don't understand this, but she says, you saved my life. So she sends them back using some like portal from like Doctor Strange's equipment or ring or something. I didn't see that film. It doesn't really make sense. If I come to kill you and then I decide not to kill you, would you say, you saved my life, I'm going to help you? But the thing is, while they were like doing her over, one of her henchmen came and like shot her up. So I think she felt that because they tried to fuck her up, she realized that the people she was working with, who was in her team, actually were against her. And I think that was valuable to her. So she realized, like, my whole team's against me. And she's smart as fuck. So she realized something's up. I need to interrogate this guy. Okay, you did me a favor. I have something to gain from this whole situation, ironically. So she spared him. So the team member, now he's about to get killed by her. And he said, look, don't put your fingers in my brain. You could just ask. So she asked him, so what's up? Why did you try to shoot me? And he explains, Dr. Paradox is out there. And while she's in the void and she's happy reigning over the void and she's not terrorizing any of the other timelines, it turns out Dr. Paradox is going to wipe out her timeline. Her henchman explained to her. So she gets mad angry, bruv, and she goes to Wolverine and Deadpool's timeline. So now they're all back in the right timeline. And for some reason, now there are 100 Deadpools. Like, every weird version of Deadpool you've ever seen has somehow come through this portal as well, because they were all in the void. That's the place where characters you don't need, like, just go to be forgotten about. Cassandra Nova has now just like fobbed off Wolverine and Deadpool with a flick of her wrist. She's destroyed them, and she's gone with Dr. Paradox to get the Time Ripper machine. And instead of her timeline being destroyed, she's going to destroy all the other timelines and just have one for herself. Okay, right, okay. Yeah, multiverse plots. So now you get to see a fight scene, which is fucking wicked. Now, I know it's fan service, bruv, but they fucking got me, mate. They fucking got me, man, right in the ticker lake. Oh, it was so good. So you might have seen this part on the trailer, and they have to kill all these Deadpools that are standing in their way. What was the fucking... Oh, man, I wish I could remember the goddamn line. I think maybe I can remember after this. So it turns out, like, the reason Wolverine wears this yellow costume, and like the whole film, Deadpool was saying, why'd you wear that stupid costume? It's like, looks ridiculous. The reason he wears it, Wolverine admitted to X-23, is it's the only thing he has that reminds him of the X-Men that he let down and he allowed them to be killed. Like, he takes he blames himself for that. And that's why he wears it, because it reminds him of the team. So you realize, like, man, he's actually a fucking deep guy, and he's had all this pain the whole time. So Wolverine and Deadpool walk out, and a Madonna song comes on. And it's like, those old Madonna songs are bangers. Like, I put one into a DJ set I did in Japan with this like nasty electro track with Madonna over the top. Like, the OG, people say she can't sing. Madonna's she's turned into a horrific, like, sea hag nowadays. But back then she was wicked. She was fit, and I thought her singing was amazing. They put on this Madonna song, and Wolverine and Deadpool walk out in slow motion, and then Wolverine's been hiding his mask. He puts on his fucking mask with the fucking ears, and Deadpool's... It's funny, like, there's so much fourth wall breaking. I thought it kind of ruined the film, but that means when it gets serious, so you really appreciate the serious moments, and you don't want Deadpool to come and fuck it up with the comedy and like lewdness and fourth wall breaking shit. But the film almost kind of knows that. So Wolverine's just always saying, shut up, you're like the most annoying person. So he's purposefully annoying. And I think it's there to help you appreciate the serious parts, because of course the serious parts feel so much more serious in contrast to the ridiculous stuff. And you're thinking like you're thinking the same thing as Wolverine. Don't come in here, Deadpool, and fuck this all up. So even though Wolverine's got his sick mask and I'm really enjoying it, then Deadpool says, oh, you've got like nice blowjob handles or something. Anyways, he puts on the mask and this looks like the Wolverine. He's got white eyes and shit. And they do the thing like in the comics where he goes down low and pops out the claws and he's like feral and running across the ground. He's just like slashing motherfuckers up, just bloodying them with the claws. Wicked fight scene. So they fight their way through the Deadpools, but then all of the Deadpools survive because they've got a healing factor. I can't remember how the fuck they get rid of them, but they somehow do. And they go down into the basement where Mr. Paradox has his Time Ripper. Now Cassandra Nova's in charge and she's got these two gloves on and one of them has like orange lightning, one of them has blue lightning. It's such a basic plot and it's going to destroy all the other timelines. So apparently there's a way to fix it, man, Mr. Paradox says, where if you act as some conduit between the different types of power that are being channeled through Cassandra Nova's left and right hands, respectively, you can cause a short circuit and the Time Ripper machine will be destroyed, but it will kill the person doing it. Now, this again, Wolverine's character arc in this film is so fucking good. So Wolverine just says, look, he's like, I'll fucking do it. I'll do it. I'll kill myself. You have a family to save. And Deadpool said, yeah, but I lied to you. You know, you worked it out. You know, I lied to you. There was actually no chance of your universe ever being saved, and I just brought you all the way for no reason, just for myself. And I think the term is like calculated wish or something like that. Calculated wish. That was how Deadpool explained why he lied to Wolverine. He used this weird euphemism. He didn't say I lied to you. He said it was just a calculated wish. It was a something wish. And that's what started the original fight between Wolverine and Deadpool in the car. Wolverine said, a calculated wish, or whatever wish it was. It's like, you lied to me, fucking like fucked him up. At the end, Wolverine just goes, it's a calculated wish. So Wolverine could see, look, this guy has a family. Wolverine's an old guy. Like, he's lived his life, 200 years. This guy's still got things going for him. That is a true hero. So I was reading about archetypes, which is essentially these characters and symbols and things in our subconscious that we're born with. It's in our collective subconscious. The famous psychologist Carl Jung talks about this. And these archetypes are in all the greatest stories, you know, from the Greek times, Roman times, biblical times, all the way until today. It's the same story being told over and over again with the same archetypes. And we're so drawn to these archetypes because they're, according to Carl Jung, baked into our personalities. They're already there. So you have like the hero and the villain, and you have like the wise man and all these kind of things. And that is essential to the hero archetype, is he's willing to sacrifice himself. So Wolverine, he goes from complete loser, all about himself, drinking himself to death, don't give a fuck about anything, to actually starting to care again. And he cares about other people, not himself. He cares about X-23. He cares about this random guy he barely even knows, who's being a complete arsehole, but he's got a family. So he cares more about other people than himself. That's the true sign of a hero. And he says, I'll be the one to do it. And Deadpool says, okay. But then Deadpool does a switcheroo. He goes into this like final last boss type room where Cassandra Nova is like channeling this lightning. She's about to destroy the universe, man. Deadpool locks the door. And Wolverine's he's like smashing on the glass trying to get in there. He wants to, they're both fucking heroes, you know, they both matter. Wolverine, he's accepted the past, and he wants to help. He just still wants to help, even though he failed in helping the X-Men, like the worst failure ever. He still wants to help. Deadpool also matters. They both are fighting to sacrifice themselves. I don't know if I've seen that in a film before, where it's two heroes are fighting to sacrifice themselves. I'm sure I've seen it where one is like, I'll go, no, I'll go. But in this way, where they're really fighting to be suicidal, it's kind of interesting. I like that part. And Deadpool uses his humor here. And this part, I like the humor. So instead of making it dramatic, he does the thing where he pretends to walk down the stairs through the glass panel and things like that, being silly. Anyways, Deadpool goes in there to try to be a conduit between these two forms of electricity that are being harbored and channeled in these like two, I don't know, like huge pipes. He rips out all the conduit and cables from one, like the blue cables, and he's trying to reach over. He's trying to pull these cables one way and reach over to get the other cable so he can channel all the magic electricity, man, and like blow everything up and sacrifice himself for the world. But he can't quite reach. The last minute, Wolverine comes through. Wolverine grabs Deadpool's hand and he reaches over. He can't reach far enough. It's fucking cool. And he pops out the claw to complete the circuit. Then the electricity is going through them. It sounds so stupid when I'm saying it back, but it was entertaining at the time. It really was. And this part is cool. So we didn't see Wolverine's six-pack in this film, and Deadpool explained it away and said, he's like getting old or whatever. But you see Wolverine's six-pack. So his like shirt's ripped off, and he must be on roids, man. Hugh Jackman, it looked like, I was thinking, have they CGI'd his six-pack? No man has a six-pack like that. It's fucking epic. You got this like alpha Wolverine, like feral motherfucker with his six-pack, his eight-pack, and Deadpool, and like electricity is running through them. Boom, it blows up, and guess what? They're still alive. And the reason they're still alive, in a film that doesn't break the fourth wall, they'd have to find a ridiculous way to explain it. And this is where the fourth wall helps. He says something like, Mr. Paradox says, how did you survive? And he says something like, Deadpool plus Wolverine, like murdering motherfuckers to like to a Madonna soundtrack, like, you know, that, I don't know, something like that. They used that. They said it much more eloquently than I did, and in a very witty way. But it said like, you know, that's fucking badass or something. And I thought, well, yeah, it kind of is really. That's a good way to explain it. And that's really the storyline for every Marvel comic ever. It's just like, this is cool, and this shit happens. And so the fourth wall, in the end, it actually kind of worked in this film and had won me round by the end. So, yeah, man, they broke the fourth wall a lot of times, a hell of a lot of times. They mentioned the fact that this film is Disney to highlight the fact that it's insane there's this much violence and sexual stuff in a Disney film. So they broke the fourth wall there. And then I thought, wow, like, this is kind of mad for Disney. Like, Walt Disney would not approve of this shit, man. Walt Disney would, there's no way he'd be happy. But in a weird sort of way, I kind of feel like that's what can save Disney, is to make some adult shit, right? They've got Aliens coming because they bought Fox. And I thought, like, what with them being woke as fuck, they'd get rid of all that adult stuff and infantilize everything. But they need the fucking cash because they've tanked their stocks with all this woke shit. And so when they broke the fourth wall and said, like, this is Disney and like, how the fuck, you know, this shouldn't be happening, within that is actually perhaps the key to that Disney survival. So at this point, you know, Wolverine's completed his arc. They both sacrifice themselves. And it's a really cool final scene where Deadpool and Wolverine sitting together. They're just chilling. Wolverine, he's different. His body language is different. He's got his confidence back. And Deadpool just says, what are you going to do? And he says, I don't know, I'll find a way, or something like that. And he fucks off. And I felt a bit sad. I want them to be friends forever, man. And Deadpool says, no, come back. And so he invites Wolverine to his house party. So I think when he was abducted from the house party, the guest didn't know, and that he did all this shit and saved the world, and then went back to the exact point where he can go back into the house party. So that's kind of cool. For his guest, it was just a few minutes, but for him, it was like fucking what felt like a lifetime. Wolverine's at the dinner table. He's finally cleaned himself up a bit, and Wolverine like then helps him out and says, "Look, go and speak to the girl. Go and speak to the girl." And then he speaks to the girl, and then so the film leaves it a bit open-ended. Maybe he's going to get back together with his girl. The fucking bromance of Wolverine and Deadpool is there. They complement each other really well. You know, Deadpool spearheaded saving the world, and then Wolverine helped him accomplish that, and then Wolverine's helping him get his girl. So, a happy ending. Really happy, super happy ending. No dark shit. I kind of wanted the happy ending. And it's a good film, man. It's a good film. It's really decent. The storyline's a little bit out there, but they admit that in the film. Part of me felt like, okay, guys, can we just not take the piss out of our own film? Can we just make a serious film like this with this much violence and like this much cool shit and like tasteful fan service, and no like race swapping, gender swapping stuff, and just like no political stuff. Like keep it faithful to the source material. Can we just have one of those? And without a multiverse, and without explaining time travel, and where there's some stakes, like fuck, that would be good. Oh my god, mate, inject that shit directly into my veins. Give it to me. As I said before, X-Men film, X-rated, violent as fuck. I'm talking like prime early 90s X-Men. I'm talking like fucking Savage Wolverine, Gambit, Beast, Jubilee, Cyclops. Get him in the like Cyclops like tearing people apart with his optic blast, burning them alive and shit. Because that, I mean, it's been done. The comics were pretty aggressive, but you didn't really see a lot of like limbs flying off and shit. So Disney actually has the opportunity to take like one of the most beloved brands and actually enhance it. Like, let's take it to the next level, motherfuckers. Let's fucking go there. Let's go to that place. Because let's be real, Disney, you fucked your brand. You fucked Star Wars. You fucked so much of your intellectual property, and you've lost so much face by politicizing your company, getting involved in politics in Florida with like overt political propaganda. Look, have your Avengers. Have the safe Avengers. You know, keep it PG-13 or whatever you call it in the States, my American brothers and sisters. God bless you. Mwah. But then, let's make the X-Men nasty, bruv. Let's make it nasty as fuck. You cannot make this film and go back. You cannot give us a taste of savage, feral Wolverine shredding motherfuckers up and go back. You cannot go back. There was another part breaking the fourth wall in this film when they said, like, man, Hugh Jackman's going to be like 90 years old. Wolverine's going to be 90 years old before Disney let him go. And you have to think, man, they need to do another one with Hugh. He's so fucking good, bruv. He's still got the physique. His acting is phenomenal, bruv. There's a part where Wolverine cries. Dude, a gruff character like Wolverine, making it him cry and making it seem believable and not destroying the character and making it seem totally believable is... His acting is so good in this film. He's amazing. Mate, Hugh Jackman, my new favourite actor from this film, fucking tore it apart. The other thing is, when he's got his rippling six-pack, there's loads of women like fawning over him and going, oh, like this. Where was like the woman with the big tits and guys are going, oh. So there's still a little bit of this like sexism where like we can objectify men, but we can't do it with women. Like, it's not objectifying. Like, the male body is attractive to women and men like to see it because we aspire to it. We look at it. We're not like you girls where when we see another hot girl, we want to destroy them and like tear them down. We think like, I want to be like that. Men like to see it, but also we like to see some hot tits, basically, mate. We like to see some big old tits, like Rogue Sheer, big tits, all that. We want to see some big... Like, if you can have Hugh Jackman with that six-pack porn, we want like a booby girl as well. I know Disney won't allow it, but that would be fucking good. So I have to call that out. There was a lot of that, like men, like let's make men look sexy, but I didn't really see much of that with women at all. Anyways, the film was cool. I was fully expecting X-23 to cuck Wolverine now that Disney's in charge. And like she's going to be the boss woman. I didn't get that at all. It was really respectful, really well done. I feel because it's X-rated, it's hard to do something really X-rated when it's like really woke as well. Because woke is all moral and preaching and like about victimhood and like that everything seemed that there was nothing that wasn't on the table here to be kind of cussed or mocked or made fun of. So I think it's like this kind of movie with breaking the fourth wall and 18. It's like adult R-rated. It doesn't lend itself very well to wokeness. Disney, you fuckers, you wankers. You actually done something good. I can't believe it. When was the last time Disney did something? I just cannot remember. So, mate, putting Gambit in that film was wicked. Wesley Snipes getting a bit old now, but it's kind of cool to see him in it. So there you go. What do I give it? It's an 8 out of 10, motherfuckers. It's an 8 out of 10. Deadpool and Wolverine. Very cool stuff. There you go. So that's my review. You can see that it tickled the nostalgia zone. It's tickling my nostalgia zone. And the fan service was done well and respectfully. They didn't like fuck up any characters, I felt. And it was funny, it was entertaining, it was violent. Action scenes were good. Well done. Storyline, multiverse, okay, we get it, there's a multiverse, but we don't need so much explaining of the multiverse every time. I think we can dial that back a bit. Okay, there's a multiverse, that we know, we get it, it's out there, keep it like the comics, but I think you can just go straight in to the storyline without explaining that shit every time. People getting a bit tired of that. But I have to say, mate, going forward, Disney have to milk the fuck out of the X-Men brand. So you're going to see a whole lot of that shit. Oh my God. Surely, for the next Avengers, there has to be like the full lineup of X-Men. And the next X-Men film, man, there's so much fucking untapped magic they have now. So they got Wolverine, they got Gambit, they got Professor X. You're going to have to bring them all. I know the origin story is fucking tedious. They always do it. But I think, man, what they could do with this intellectual property will be amazing. I won't hold my fucking breath, though, because the people who make this film, those people are not in charge of the regular stuff that goes on at Disney. I won't hold my breath. But, man, one takeaway from this is that Disney have got a lot of IP on their hands, a lot of great IP. And let's hope they don't mismanage it and destroy it like they did with Star Wars. Let's just fucking hope. There you go, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you liked it, well, I'm glad. And that's about it. If you enjoyed this review, you can donate. Streamlabs.com/Johnny Massacre, Patreon.com/Johnny Massacre, PayPal.me/. Give me a hell yeah. Your donations are always much appreciated. This month we've made $331 with only 7 days to go. We've got a $500 target. Can we smash the fragile whiteness of that bar and fill it with delicious green? I hope so. Please give generously. Thank you very much, everyone. Much love. Take care and see you tomorrow. Cheers.